Esport, $1 billion industry, an introduction and possible opportunities. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. This is your host, Robin Sharma. As I have got a lot of love out of my last podcast, and a lot of people have commented and privately messaged me. I am really grateful. Today's topic is going to be an entirely different topic. It's about esports. I'm not so sure how many people are really aware because there's definitely a generational gap that is there between my generation and the generation that is coming up. And I have to tell you, this is something that everybody needs to kind of understand, because this is a very big industry that is coming up so fast. And I think after this COVID-19, it is one of the industry that will explode once this industry actually gets a very main light stream. So if you understand in a very simple term what esports is a sport that is played electronically between multiple players in a network. And it could be defined through different games, it could be defined through different leagues, it could be defined through an online competition. But regardless of what, there is a very huge industry where there are different stakeholders who are coming in and playing their role to kind of define it. And in some cases, all the stakeholders are one company. And that is pretty interesting to see how all of this evolves into one combination of how you could build a company in the future. So today I will just like to give you some very basic understanding of what esports is right now, what is happening around the world, companies, values and everything. And also I would like to highlight you on what are the opportunities that this industry will bring, especially a country like Nepal, where they can utilize this as an opportunity to maybe get more employment, have more competitive edge to the future technology that we are going to face. So, just to start with, I would like to say that, the gaming industry has been very, very old. Like, since 1982, when this video arcade, where you would go to certain how we would say a computer station or a video game station, and you would play with each other. So that had a very big impact on how the pop culture of this gaming industry has kind of popped in this last 5 years. So games like Street Fighter, they had a very big impact. And I remember, and then there was this video console that we used to play at our home, like Contra, Mario, and all these single player games were very popular during those time, which is our time. And there are, if you actually see that there's a big drastic change that has happened over these few years, and one of the biggest reason for that is internet. The connection of internet has enabled different software game developers to develop games where multiplayer people can come into a network and can play a game together, and that is way more interesting and competitive than just playing a game at home. So I think there are like legends in this game industry, like Dennis Fogg, which is also known as Tress. It's like an online name. Everybody has an online name, by the way, if you are a game player. So he used to play this game called Quack, and during that time, the owner of Quack, the game owner of Quack, had a Ferrari as a winning prize, and he actually won it. So he's like one of the legends uh, in terms of multiplayer game strategy developer, kind of, how you need to actually build your strategy to win a game. So it is quite interesting in terms of how you understand whether this phenomena, or this pop culture that is popping up, where everybody's playing PUBG, where everybody's playing League of Legends, does it have any value? You can only know when the market reacts to it. So if you actually see, right, games like League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter Strike, they have they have influxed with the number of audience. They have just expanded into becoming one of the very big sporting event. And to actually see the scale, you have to really go and see what is happening in China, what is happening in US, on industry like esports, and you would understand that. Just to give you an example, in 2017, there were almost 60 million people who actually watched a sporting event live from their platform all over the world while it is happening. So if you actually kind of see that, and also Las Vegas has a esports arena. They have like a designated sports arena where different people from different countries will come and compete for different games. So when you actually see, right, so how do you understand esports? You have to understand esport into their categories, meaning that not the name of the games but how they are played. So there's first person shooter, there are games on that. There's real time strategy, like you have to make real time strategy. There's game on that. There are multi online battle arena, like multiplayer online battle arena, which is also called MOBA. So in that, people would get into an arena, and then they have to defend their place and have to attack the other person. So this is like a team game. And also the new category that has evolved in the recent time called battle royale, which is quite interesting. And if you actually see, like, okay, you're playing a game, how hard that could be, but if you actually see, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of thought process to actually be good at a certain game like this. Because if you really want to see, it's like playing chess and playing a symphony at the same time. So like you have to align your every move to the move of every other team player that you're playing with. So it gives you a very important knowledge of reflexes, strategy, thinking, planning, and having a very strong way of making instant decisions that will lead to the win. So it gives me a very a deep insight, because I'm not a big fan of esports, to be say, or I do not have much time that I have given. I love FIFA. I've played few games, but I was always like kind of a very surface, like a fan who is on the surface, who plays everything, who understands everything, but doesn't go in deep. But what I'm really interested is in how do you actually build a really good business model out of it. So this is what we are going to talk about today. So I'm giving you all this information so that you understand how this game is kind of evolving. But at the end, my goal is to kind of show you like there are different opportunities after COVID-19 as a young person, as a youth, that you could actually invest some time on a particular dimension of this industry, and then excel in it and actually kind of build something out of for you or for your community or for your teams. So keep keep hearing me and keep seeing what comes out of this. And also, I'm at the end, I'm going to talk about like specific list of different opportunities, like different jobs or different sectors that you could actually think of to kind of build a business around it. So to understand, right, we have to also, to understand this industry, we have to understand how big is that. So you understand through numbers, and the numbers says that by like 2020 was supposed to be $1 billion revenue year uh, for esports, and they have doubled since 2018, meaning that in 2017 there was only like $500 million revenue that was coming out of this industry, and within 2 years it had just doubled, and the growth rate is more than 15 to 20%, which is way much higher than any other industry that is growing, especially old traditional industries. So you have to understand. So if you understand, okay, you understand the size of the industry. Now you have to understand who are the big players, what are different stakeholders, what is the size of an audience. Just to give you a idea, there's almost 500 million people who are involved in this industry, meaning that they have a huge number of audience. So once you understand that there is a huge number of audience who are not just actually playing the game but actually watching the game as an entertainment, you know why football, NBA, or any sports like cricket actually makes it so valuable is because of the audience. There are so many people who are ready to watch that game, give their certain amount of attention to that particular game, which values the game a lot. And one of the biggest valued game is football. So if you understand that 500 million people actually getting indirectly or directly involved as an audience to watch this particular game is a lot. So which gives me an interesting thought idea that maybe there is a very less information that we actually really know about this, and that gives a lot of people a very vague idea, because they don't see a lot of people around their area, especially like country like Nepal, actually making money out of esports or game industry. So you have to understand that this audience number is just right now at this stage, and in next 5 years it'll double and triple, which meaning that it'll be one of the biggest sport of the world, and that is pretty crazy. And that is like a very sad news for a lot of cricketers and footballers. And I know a lot of people will complain about it. Oh, you sit at home, you just put some headphones and you just play the game all day all night. But if you really understand, it has a lot of dimension to it. There is so much going on in that particular game, and in the mind of the player, and even in the mind of the people who are watching this game, because these games are not just very rule defined game, but it is like a very, how do I say, it's like a river that is flowing, and then you have to kind of figure out whether how to sail in that river, because there might be a fall in forward which is designed by the company in next 2 weeks. So it is completely, it is in changing waters, and all these players have to kind of adapt to the new rules and new ways of how they have to play and strategize themselves, which is quite interesting, because most of the traditional game would have a very fixed rules and regulations, and they do not evolve. And I think that is kind of very absolute as a game thinker, because usually as our consciousness is growing, we need highly brain engaging games that keeps us on our toes. And that is what I think the esports is doing. Even you're sitting and watching in your laptop or your phone, it is giving you that level of excitement as the same way as a football game would give. So now I talked about, like, how big is the industry, how big is how many audiences are there. Let's talk about the companies that are actually one of, like, few big companies that are there, who are actually getting a lot of growth over these years. So a few companies are like Activision Blizzard, Electronic Arts, who makes FIFA, Take Two Interactive Software, and one of the biggest one is Tencent, which has like a huge pool of games. So all these companies have a lot of pool of games, and they have like different divisions, different subsidiaries, doing almost everything in their own field. So that and the companies like Cloud9, who actually builds the game, builds the rules, builds the how we are going to distribute the game and everything. So to understand, like, why there is so much of where so let's move forward and try to understand where is the money coming from. Like, what are the different sectors that actually this industry is actually making money from. So if you break it down, right, that amount I just told, $1 billion, and try to see where is the money actually coming from. So one of the ways that you actually make money in this industry is by streaming. So the streaming itself is like a $18 million business. Like, you stream and then you get gifts, which is converted into money. So people who are using different distribution platform like YouTube and Twitch, which kind of display how they play, with them showing how they are playing, and then people watch it, and then people pay money, or people send gifts just to so that they can learn from the game, or they're enjoying how the person is playing. And there's like digital rights that people give for different games, which is almost like $21 million. And there are publishers who actually are making almost $116 million out of it. And there is a huge merchandising industry in the game industry, which is almost $121 million, meaning the console, the chair, the laptop, the CPU, all of those things, even including maybe a t-shirt or even a headphone. So I think there are many companies who are just specializing on producing merchandise for this industry, which is almost $121 million right now, and I'm pretty sure it'll just grow exponentially in the next 5 years. And there's also media rights, which is given to different TV channels and all this different online platforms for streaming the whole game. So it's like how people go and watch a football, that is how people go and watch certain games like League of Legends. And there's like a proper opening ceremony, there's a proper welcoming of the teams, there's a proper introduction, and everything else is streamed. And the biggest one is from sponsorship. And this is quite interesting, because the sponsorship that are coming in this industry are the same sponsorship that has been sponsoring all these big game companies over the years, like Coke, Nike, NBA, big companies who are looking for how to get the attention of the young audience, are kind of coming in and pouring a lot of money, because they see that there is a huge interest of young native digital users to be part of this community. Like, you might be part of League of Legends, you might be part of PUBG, you might be part of Dota, but there is a certain level of attachment and loyalty to it, which quite brings me to a very interesting understanding out of this is that one thing that I can certainly say is, what makes this industry so unique. I think the fans, the viewers, and the players are deeply engaged in the game. As in, you need to understand that these, like the statistics show us, a person who is actually a regular viewer of different games, like different live stream games, they spend almost 100 minutes of straight time that they give to watch this game, which is like giving 100 minutes to watch a certain thing from a people playing a certain game. It's like almost watching a movie, it's almost closer to that. So like giving an attention to particular game for that much amount of time shows that there is a very deep engagement between the fans and the game and the player and all the ecosystem. They are very closely intact and tied, which creates a very unique opportunity for different players and different businessmen and different stakeholders to kind of create the product on how they need to market it. So which is quite interesting, and you can understand who are the audience. They are like the most younger people, the younger generation, the one who are very very native to internet and gaming on games on online. It's like just normal for them, not like us, like who have transit from a non-internet era to an internet era. But these are people who are born in internet and they feel that it is a normal thing, which is just interesting to see that maybe in the future esports is just going to be popular than any other sports. Cricket, football, any other sports, they will be still there, but esports will just overtake them in a big way, which for me is kind of a very amazing thing to imagine, that in next 5 to 10 years something such a big transformation in a sport industry would come, and then we just have to be part of it. So now you have a question. So like I talked about what is it in the industry, who are making more money, how the money is distributed, and how it is going to take over the real sport. So now you can ask like, okay, maybe esports is electronic playing, game playing is not even sports. How it is different from the real sports? So if you actually see, right, in any sports there's a challenge, and there's a score at the end, and the score determines whether you won or not. And in any sports, which is regardless of a swimming or playing a chess or driving a car, any sports has the same feature. It's about winners. So there is win rate, there's different models, rules and regulations that you have to follow to actually play the game. For me, what I found is quite interesting. So in a real sport, there's different level of stakeholders. There's a company who organizes the sports, like NBA. There's different clubs who kind of nurture and build the players, and there are players itself, and there's companies who sponsor it. There's a company who makes the basketball. So they have like different stakeholders who are coming together and making that sport happen. But in industry like esports, all of that thing is done by one company. So meaning that the company makes the game, the company makes the rule, the company makes the whole event happen. The company distributes the rights of that event. The company actually pays the player. The company decides the winning prize. Everything in a way that if you're able to create a certain level of audience, you have this kind of a monopoly situation where you can dictate different rules and regulation to kind of make the game more interesting and more popular. So for me, it's like this is one of the biggest difference I find between the sports we play traditionally and the sports that we are playing digitally right now. And also, the other major difference is on how you actually define the rule book of sports. So in usually the traditional games like NBA or basketball or football, there is a certain rules, and just to make one simple change in the rule takes a lot of longer time. Take that as a thought. Come to a digital game like League of Legend. They change the rule every 2 weeks, and that is the I think that is one of the biggest difference I find between a real sport and sports that we play digitally, like especially this big games, and how they come up with new rules, patches, powers to a certain character, and how they adapt, looking at what is the data showing and looking at the win rate, and kind of making that win rate look very fair to people who are playing the game, so that there's no leaks to it and there's no advantage given to a certain particular person. So which for me is quite interesting dimension, because now as a esport, right, you could actually build that game into different levels every year to keep the person engaging until, I don't know, until you create a very next level augmented reality game where you go in and you become part of it, which is quite interesting. It is just, for me, like, after I have done this research, I figure out that there is so much of different there's so much of lack of information that in a normal set of information, in normal set of news and everything that we are getting. And when you actually study a um, particular social change that is going to happen in our society, I see that game industry is kind of going to bring that. And it is not a very happy thing or sad thing, but there are certain limitations and there are certain opportunities I feel that comes along with it. So if you actually see, like, most of the games that are played in esport are like related to violence. It's like you go and kill the person. So that is quite of a, how do I say, pseudo science to understand the psychology of men who are growing up in a very different environment, especially the environment of wars and everything. And I guess there is a certain level of violence streak that we have as a human being. And I think if esports or digital sports could be an answer to actually take that out, is a very good therapeutic, like a very good psychological answer to that. Because if it is already the second biggest game in the world, and if a lot of people are playing it with a certain passion to win, meaning that, and they are not looking at the culture, they are not looking where they come from, they are not looking anything else, they're just looking how hard you play the game and how good you are playing the game. So there's a very mutual respect for each other as a player, because they have a certain level of skills and talent that other person is directly recognizing because of what they see and how they play. So I have a very I don't have very I think it is one of the most understandable industry that I have figured out that it would kind of boom, and how we kind of play a different role in different dimension of this industry to actually create a market for people like us. So You might ask, like, okay, Robin, you talked about it, you say good things. You say, Raju Karki would actually make a lot of money playing that game. There'll be a competition. The winning prize is high. There's so much of the future looks bright. But what exactly can I do? Because I don't play games. I am not interested in playing the games. And I think for you to be part of this industry, you don't have to play the games. I think you could use your skill to direct into this industry and create a certain level of authority, which might create a certain level of monetary value in return. Meaning that there's so many opportunities that you have over this how to say industry, that you could literally do almost 20 things, like 20 things in Nepal that you could do, and you could make money out of this esports. So this is what our my like last segment will be about, is what are the possible business opportunities that we see in esports, especially when we say countries like Nepal or any small countries that is around the world. So, and it doesn't comply to one particular place, but I think it's a very open space where all most of the people are connected, and they're connected through one game, and it doesn't really matter where you're from. So these are the few opportunities I feel it has a huge potential, and anybody who has a certain level of skills could try it out and actually make certain amount of good amount of money out of this. And I would like to the reason why I'm bringing this out is because I genuinely feel that there is a lack of void on what is going to happen after COVID-19. I think after this pandemic, the world is not going to end. The world is going to move faster. It's just going to move faster on the demand it has. The market decides, and I feel as more people are staying home, and as more people are playing games, and as more people are getting into games, this industry is inevitably growing regardless of the pandemic or no pandemic. So I feel the pandemic just kicked this industry more harder, which will make it more faster to grow. And I feel there is a very unique opportunities for different people from different industry to kind of take a piece of it and make it your own. So the first, let's start with the list, right? Cut to the chase and start with the list. What are the possible business opportunities that esports has in terms of different rules or different businesses that you could actually run around this ecosystem of esports? The first is influencer marketing. When I say influencer marketing, it's like you can be an influencer of this industry in your own market. Like in Nepal, there could be like few people who have a very good influencing capabilities to kind of take it as one of their theme, and then developed into talking about the industry, how is it growing, what is happening. So you become an influencer in social media and everywhere, and then you do influencer marketing for different events and players and games and console and products. So that is one part. The another part is recruiting agency, meaning that you find out the best players in your town, in your area, or in your community, and then you recruit them, and you become their manager. So it's like you help them to grow in their game. You help them mentally, give them consoling, you give them opportunity, you go and negotiate, deal with different companies, and you help them to grow their career. And I think it is one very interesting game, because you don't have to play the game. You just need to understand the player good enough so that you can have his growth and his path paved out, and you actually help them to achieve. which is one of the other role that you could play and actually generate a good amount of money, and it could be easily a side hustle. Another one is event organizing. So you organize different events, an international event, a domestic event, or a local event, and then you go into this event sector where you organize different events, and then you become pro at it. So that next time anybody wants to organize a game event, they come to you, and then you help them. Another one is branded product distribution. So you can, so like in countries like Nepal, so there are different game merchandises and games that are there out in the world, which are really famous, and I'm pretty sure not everybody has taken every games. So you can actually go and talk to those companies and take a official distributorship for the country to actually create a market for you in in Nepal or any other small countries, or even in India. So all I'm saying is that there is a way that you could run a proper business out of it without even getting involved in the game. And definitely there's, if you are a player and you can play well, amazing. Like, I think you are like the Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan only not only Michael Jordan makes money, the lawyer makes money, the lobbyist makes money, the health nutritionist of Michael Jordan makes money. So there's different people around Michael Jordan who are making money because of Michael Jordan. So you have to understand that there's different roles you could play. So another one is setting up a local portal for content sharing, meaning that you become a very local news portal for esports, where you share the news, you share what is happening around, you become a media company basically in esports in your. And another way is becoming sponsors. So there are different players who are very good at playing, but they do not have enough resources to kind of compete in different big games. So you become a sponsors, and then you say, okay, I'll sponsor the game, but if you win, I'll be taking certain percentage out of you, and if you get a certain marketing deal, I'll be taking certain percentage. So you become a sponsors for a particular team or a player. Another one is writing an esport journal. So if you're good at writing and you're good at understanding what is happening, telling a story of a particular player and of the game, you can start a journal and go away with it and try to create a market around it. Another one is, which is the eighth business opportunity around this area, which is esport ranking, meaning that you rank the players, you rank the people, you rank everything possible in terms of game, and you put them into your website, and you actually create a ranking esport website in your community or in your locality or in the country, which I think is a very good business opportunity if anybody wants to take it for that. And then the ninth one is esports product seller, meaning that you just get your esports product and either you rebrand it into your own local brand, or you try to sell a branded product and have a proper esport shop in your locality, or in your in maybe a proper distribution store from a big company. I think that is also a very good opportunity. Networking platform for the gamers. So it's like you become a Facebook of esports, where people come and talk. And there are companies like Twitch and who are doing a streaming thing. But I think this, as it'll get global, it'll also get local. So like, creating a network platform for a local community in different games would be a very interesting business model to see. Moving ahead, another one, the 11th business opportunity in esport game is ticket marketer, meaning that you become an online ticket, you hold a private event and you sell it online, or you hold an offline event and you sell all the tickets to the audiences. So I guess even a marketer who just do ticketing would be able to make some money out of it. And I think the biggest winner, the 12th business opportunity, I feel the biggest winner would be building your own software. So if you are a game enthusiast and a software developer, this would be a good idea to come up with a very new way of seeing, because I feel League of Legends and all these games are just the starting of what is going to come. Just imagine what will happen in next 100 years in this industry. It'll move ahead to a very next level, which I'm pretty sure nobody can imagine. But all I know is that there are so many people with a very creative storytelling and very creative way of engaging people together. So building your own game software could be a very revolutionary thing. And there are already few companies in Nepal who are doing it. So, I would like to shout out to Uttam and Uday, who are developing this game called Chronicles of Himalayas, which is based on Nepal's topography, story based on Nepali theme, and how he is able to, and it's not a short game, but it's a long version game. So they have a very big future plan for that, and I have been kind of consulting them for a while on that. And I genuinely believe in their idea that, creating a very cultural based game can attract a very global audience, and it could be a very huge industry, even a country like Nepal. And I think there are already very good players out here who are making money. There are players who are making $2,000, $3,000 already. So I guess we have to kind of see it in a very open-mindedness way, where all we gotta do is kind of capitalize all these resources together and see what is the real value we could create, and not judge. Because I'm pretty I know that there's a lot of stigma around people playing the games, because they are being judged, especially the parents judge the son and daughter, or the society would, oh, he just stays at home. And then there's like this tag of introvert, oh, you cannot go out, you're gonna do this. But I guess it depends on the personality, and you have to kind of understand that if the person is very serious about what he really wants to do and he has a clear path, I'm pretty sure anybody from anywhere in the world could become a very amazing player. So building your own software, and I would wish good luck to Red Tail Studio for their endeavors in the future. And I feel like they are paving the path for a lot of other companies and a lot of other youth people to kind of build their own games, and that is pretty amazing for a country like Nepal, and I feel really happy about it. So the 14th business opportunity would be gaming center. So you can actually build a gaming area where people come and they actually compete and just play. So it's like a futsal. People come and play football. People come and play the esports together. So that could be a nice way to make money, because you could easily charge them hourly basis, and also compete them in a small game prices. And the 15th one is legal battle, like legal betting. So there is a huge industry out there where people play the games and the betting is going on. And I think in esports is one of the things that esport has is that it is all connected through internet, and everything, that the transaction to what is going on to everything is so transparent that illegal digital betting could be one of the industry that could actually go on, because people love gambling. People have been gambling since the ages where they were making horse run in a horse race. So I feel legal digital betting could be one another industry that you could actually build and create a certain amount of business out of it. The 16th business opportunities that esports gives a certain person is opening a esports agency, meaning that run it like any other agency who gets the player, gets the sponsorship, funds the game. So organizing everything together, and you get a piece of piece of profit out of it. And I think there would be a lot of companies who would be coming out in the future. So one of that could be yours. So and the 17th one is a private coach, which makes me think that, okay, if there's a private coach in every other sports, why not in esports? So if you are someone who's been playing different games, you have the tricks, you have the nuances, you have studied how you can motivate the person, and you have studied, because it takes a lot of mental pressure and a lot of energy when you play the game. So I think all these people, young people who will be playing this game, they would need certain consulting, and psychoanalysis needs to be done over the period of time over these children and how their brains are reacting to it. So anybody who is a private coach could actually also be a very good profession for the next 5 to 10 years, where you are playing you're getting a very high fee for people consulting to you, because you're one of the most respected and reputed coach in that industry. And the 18th one could be vlogging, like just making vlogs or making YouTube vlogs about people and what is happening. So just talk about games and make videos, interview people, and create your own YouTube channel out of it, and try to become like a influencer. So that is another opportunity that you have. The 19th opportunity anybody has, which goes to any marketing company, especially the social media marketing company, they need to, I feel, have a very specific segment or specific team that is dedicated to building this market. If there's a company who actually really focuses on marketing esports in their country over the period of next 5 to 10 years, I think they would be one of the leading marketing company, because they would have a tremendous understanding of the market. They would have tremendous networking with the sponsorship and the players, which will which will put them into a very unique position. And the last one is, which for me I think is one of the most interesting one, which is esports analytical company, where you bring a lot of different analysis, where you bring a lot of different hacks, where you bring a lot of different research, what is happening in the industry, and then kind of predict what might happen, which I think is creating different analytics and creating a media company out of it is just so powerful, because that will drive the growth of this industry more even faster. So when you listen to all these 20 opportunities, right, I feel all of them are possible, even in a country like Nepal. And if you're in Ghana, you're in the United States, you're anywhere, and you're an individual who just loves playing the game and has no idea of how things will move forward, I'm telling you, you just have to keep going on, and you just have to find your interest. And people who are feeling that, oh, maybe their skill and their talent is left out, it's not. I think all you got to do is that channel that talent and skill into a right industry, and I think esports can be the answer. So here we are in this very unique place where we have this huge flux of big industry that is coming to us, and nobody has kind of a very good idea of how it'll be. So I hope I laid out a very strong case on what is happening in the esport industry, what might happen in esports industry, and possible business opportunities that you yourself can think and work and build a plan out of it, so that you could make something. And the reason why I am giving you all that information. And I think generally there is a concept of people saying that, oh, this is very good information, you should not be sharing with anybody. I don't believe that, because I genuinely believe that I have so many ideas, and like anybody else has, and not every ideas would I will be able to implement. And I feel like I need to empower other people to maybe help them see that, okay, you don't see the idea, here it is, maybe you want to try it out, and maybe it will help them. So if anybody who ever listens to this to till this point, right, because I think I've gone a very long way, and if you are listening till this point, I want to say thank you. And I want to say that you can. You can make a change. You can, go into a different industry completely not thought of and make something out of it. And especially especially men and women who are very who have a very strong determination of something that they want to do in their life, something meaningful, something valuable, something that they are worth proud of. Because we are definitely in this era of making history, and I think every era was part of making an history. Only few people were able to make a difference in that decade or in that century, and this is our century. We are living in this century, and this is what is happening. There's a pandemic, and we gotta live forward. How do we do about it? Is by really having this mindset, a very right mindset of looking at things into very powerful way, and that changes and opens your eyes, in a complete. It throws you off, and it just you could feel so much of negativity coming out of your family. You might feel a lot of negativity coming out of the news that is going around. But if you actually silence all of that out, and if you actually try to see very clearly on what is happening, what are the possible things that might happen, and what are the possible things, what are the possible growth that might be there, and if I incline my career towards that direction, if I incline my company's investment toward that direction, maybe in coming 2, 3, 4, 5 years I am able to become a biggest player in that particular field. So I genuinely believe that out of this conversation, maybe there would be few who would come out as a leader in Nepal, especially. And once they do, we will get surprised, and I think nothing will make me more happy, because this is the whole purpose of this Soul Seeker podcast, to actually bring certain value, certain real difference in the mindset of young, hungry, foolish entrepreneur who are able to, who are looking for some opportunities and trying to figure out what they really want to do in life. So life is not only about running after one thing. Life is about balance. And trying to find that balance is one of the most difficult thing. Even I struggle with it. Anybody, even a Sadguru, like a biggest person, struggles with it. So, but we gotta find the balance. That's the game. So, you really want to win in the game of life? I guess esports could be an answer. And saying that much, right? All I want to say is the esport industry, right, is the most technological driven sport the world has ever seen. There's a strong possibility that it'll overshadow traditional sport in 5 to 10 years. You don't believe me? Go and watch this movie called Ready Player One, and you'll understand that that might be the future of sports. So you go and explore this idea and see if it is valuable to you. You bring certain time to yourself and reflect and see if it does add value to you, because I'm pretty sure if it was not adding any value, you would not be listening to this point. So all I wish you is best luck. Keep dreaming, keep seeking. I will be coming up with more interesting topics to explore and see if it helps you. So thank you so much. You can follow me in my Instagram, Robin Soul Seeker. You can follow my YouTube. You can follow me in Spotify. You can follow me in Anchor. There are different places. If you have any questions, you want to ask something particular, you can always reach me out in my Instagram. I'll reply you with very definitive answers. And yes, all I would say is that don't be afraid. Go for it.